Hi, my name is Becky Jennings, and this is the Responsible Parenting Podcast. I give you the transformational tools to stop reacting to your children in the moment and start responding with intention.
Do you find yourself locked in a daily power struggle with your child? Do you fall back into old patterns like yelling or threatening just to stop the annoying behavior? Are you desperate to learn how to connect with your kids, set boundaries, heck, gain some cooperation? If this is you, you need to check out my community. Inside my community, you'll have access to my signature Strong-Willed Language course, where you learn how to regulate yourself, understand and speak your strong-willed kids' language to virtually eliminate the constant power struggles. You'll have access to my workshop library, giving you step-by-step strategies for sibling rivalry, listening, anger and aggression, emotional regulation, and more. You'll have weekly Q&A opportunities to get personalized answers on challenging situations. You'll get specific strategies for you based on exactly what's going on in your home. No umbrella strategy, no umbrella script, no box. You'll get a personalized roadmap to support you. Plus, you'll get dozens of bite-sized lessons to regroup, stay on track, and stay motivated. It is time to stop walking on eggshells around your children and finally experience the relief you are looking for. Join the community today and let's get started.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Responsible Parenting. My name is Becky Jennings. I am your trusty tour guide through all of this emotional chaos that we experience as parents. And I wanted to kind of circle back. I hear a lot in my comments about respect, like how this generation has no respect and how kids these days are disrespectful brats. And, if I share anything about like forward progress with my ADHD son, or if I share like a single hiccup that he experienced, I get like bombarded with people saying like he's a disrespectful brat, like thank you for raising yet another disrespectful child that will have to suffer the consequences, and don't worry, we will teach him the lessons that you're not. And it's like, what are we talking about here? So I wanted to circle back and really dive into respect. I think, the breaknecking speed that we are all operating in right now, just the constant to-do list, requirements, expectations, there isn't a lot of slowing down. Like the knee-jerk reactivity of punishments, threats, comments in my posts, like that all comes from a place of fear. That all comes from a place of misaligned expectations. That all comes from a place of like correcting behavior. It doesn't come from curiosity. And I believe truly that curiosity could be one of the number one tools to garner respect from our kids. I would venture to believe that if the people in my comments who are so angry with how I choose to parent my children, I, without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt in my brain, believe that if they showed up with curiosity, if they asked a question without judgment, if they thought they didn't already have me, quote unquote, figured out, like they knew what I was doing, I think that we would come to a much more of a mutual agreement of parenting. It is amazing that if I am attacked in my comments and I come at it with another question, that person is almost like, oh, we're having a conversation now. Whereas if I come back with a snarky, like, how dare you, we get into like a little feud. But every single time I get curious, not every single time, but a lot of the times when I get curious and I ask curious questions, they start to open up and start to go, oh, I didn't see it from that way. Oh, okay, that makes more sense. Like, thank you for clarifying that. And then we're able to have a dialogue. And then there's, mutual respect, right? So I've written out a handful of ways that curiosity really, really actually is the bedrock for respect.
I want to share my free guide to managing our kids' meltdowns. We know that meltdowns are normal, but they still suck and can be ridiculously triggering. This 4-step free guide will help you break the cycle of reactivity and help you get through the meltdown without snapping yourself. Don't join your kid in the tantrum. Grab my free guide and learn how to manage meltdowns like a pro. Head to responsableparenting.ck.page/meltdown, or just go and click the link in my show notes and get your guide today.
First and foremost, curiosity, it shows a desire to understand. It shows this like desire to get in there, and we're approaching this empathetically, right? We don't have our assumptions and our guards raised with curiosity, right? We're curious. The whole point of curious is exploration, right? We want to get to know something. So when we come at a problem with our child with empathy, with curiosity, with the desire to seek to understand them, that is really disarming. It's incredibly disarming. It's very wholesome and nourishing for our children. When our children wholeheartedly believe that we are interested in their thoughts, their feelings, their experiences, where we want to know them, that we value them as an individual and we want to figure out and help and support them, that is critical baseline stuff here. When our children feel like we want to understand them, that really, really is just the foundation of building respect. Instead of telling our children, you shouldn't feel upset about that. And we say, whoa, I can see you're upset. Tell me what's going on. I'm curious. Can you imagine the difference that makes to a child's growing nervous system? That we want to understand them, just like adults in conflict, the people in my comments. I wish that they would be like, I'm so curious. I see you could only do this in 90 seconds, or you only had 10 slides to share this. I'm curious more of the context that was going around. Could you explain that a little bit further? Oh my goodness. What a different conversation opener, as opposed to what I do generally get, right? We're so primed to attack that it's trickling into our parenting as well. So I'm wondering if we can slow ourselves down. Yes, we're operating at max capacity most of the time, but if we can slow ourselves down long enough to attempt to understand the context of what is going on for our children and lower our assumptions, and we think we know what's happening for them, let's just slow down. Let's just say, let's pretend like we're the dad in Bluey and we were born yesterday, right? And we don't know what's going on. And we have to actually figure out each step of this process. Okay. So, number one, let's get curious, because we're going to show empathy and we're going to seek to understand. The other part about curiosity is it really evens the playing field, right? It takes out that like hierarchical order of parent dominating over the child. It's not this like top down, I'm the sole person who decides, every aspect of this and it's my way or the highway. Instead of saying things like, go to your room, think about what you've done. Like, I want nothing to do with you right now. Or like, I noticed you're upset. I'm wondering what's happening here. Like, can we talk about it? This seems really intense right now. What's going on for you? I can tell you what's going on for me, right? It's so different. We're now taking out that whole section that we possibly grew up with, where we were told how to feel and told all of this stuff. And we're allowing our child to be like, hey, listen, I value you. I value you so much that I'm willing to sit and listen to your entire experience. I'm willing to listen to what is going on, why you are feeling the way you do. Not yelling at them doesn't mean we are giving the thumbs up to their behavior. That's not the case. We're just creating a more approachable situation. Again, think about if you're in conflict with somebody, say your partner, your co-parent, and if they attack, your knee-jerk reaction, that sends you on the defense, right? It puts you in a combative stance. But if they were like, whoa, I see that you're really frustrated and I'd really like to figure out what's going on here, you would be much more inclined to slow down, to try to figure out the perspective that you're coming from and articulate that to them, right? It just takes a lot of the pressure out of the situation. Curiosity is also this magical way of encouraging them to think about what's going on, to think about what's actually happening in their body. Because our children, they are completely 100% emotion, right? They do not come into logic forming for a very, 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 very long time. So we're operating with emotion. We're a tiny little body filled with to the brim, tiny little body, max capacity emotions, right? And so when we approach it with curiosity and we're able to try to be like, hey, what do you think would happen if we decided to handle this differently next time? How did you feel when this happened? How would you feel if it happened differently? Right? If we can start to have them start thinking about their feelings, have them starting to take ownership of their behavior, of their decisions, helping bring language to what is going on in their body, they're not going to feel controlled by us. They're going to start to take ownership of their experience. I'll tell you a quick story that happened a couple days ago. As you know, LA has been under some pretty crazy, extreme issues with weather and fires and all of that stuff. And I was on air quality Zoom and I was trying to figure out, it was like a very intense doom and gloom Zoom. It was creating a lot of fear inside of me about the safety of everything. And my son had an expectation that he wanted to go on Canva and he's trying to build his own board game. So he wanted to design the board game and it was on my computer. And he thought I was on my husband's computer, but I was on mine, and he melted down. I will admit, I did not show up with curiosity. I showed up with, how dare you? This is mine. Leave the room. I am too angry to deal with this and too overwhelmed with the stress that is happening. Afterwards, we came back to repair, which is a critical component of parenting, in my opinion. And you know what he said? Because we've practiced this so many times that he was able to think about what was happening in his body. He said, Mom, and I kid you not, this came out of his mouth. He said, I had an expectation that I was going to be able to use your computer after school. It didn't line up with what was actually happening. He's 7, by the way. We've only been doing this for probably 3-ish years at this point. And he said, my expectations didn't align with what was happening. And that's why I was so upset. Oh my goodness. The clarity, the ability to feel safe enough to say that, it was just magical. So the more we can do this, and again, curiosity you don't have to hit this 10 out of 10 times every single time in order for it to be effective. We're showing up 51% of the time, you will be more effective as a parent. Because curiosity builds strong emotional bonds. It just does. There is nothing like it. When somebody is asking you more about yourself, more about what's going on, that feels wonderful, right? When we are constantly telling our kids that we want to know more about what's going on in their inner worlds, that builds deep emotional connection, right? Children are more likely to share with you what's going on, their struggles, their high points, their secrets, when they feel like it's completely safe to be heard by you, right? These are the things that help really foster that foundation of respect. Also, curiosity, it allows our children to feel empowered in this relationship. Kids are perceptive. They pick up on everything and they realize when their parents genuinely want to know what is going on for them, when they want to hear their ideas, when they want them to express their feelings. then they begin to see that this relationship is actually based on mutual respect versus the parent's sole authority. Rather than it being, these are my rules, my way or the highway, a curious parent is going to say, hey, listen, I notice we've been disagreeing a lot lately. I notice we've had some resistance over, bedtime, mealtime, whatever it is. I'm curious how you think we could make this feel a little bit more fair. These are the type of soft questions that help our children start to make sense of what's going on for them and start to actually creatively problem solve. I think one of the most important things here, and something that everybody here in this community deals with, especially as our children are getting older, is curiosity really helps with power struggles, right? As our kids are growing older and older, it is their developmental job to individuate from us as parents and create their own roles, their own life, right? Instead of coming down on them harder in this moment, as they challenge authority, we get to get curious and understand what's going on. Why are they choosing to test this boundary, right? This actually helps avoid escalating this power struggle. If you think about it as a tug of war, and the kid is just pulling on that rope as hard as possible, we pull back the other way with our authority, with our dictatorship, right? And then if we just drop that rope and we get curious and say, what's making this so hard for you right now to focus on your homework? I'm wondering why this is bothering you so much. Then we're taking such a amazing leadership role, setting the example of how to approach conflict. Instead of feeling like shamed or feeling backed into a corner where they have to lash out and they have to rebel and they have to push back and they have to because we're coming down so hard on them, we again get that opportunity to say, I'm not here to punish, threaten. I'm not here to force you to comply. What I am here to do is understand so I can help guide you. Because yes, I was a teenager once too. Yeah, I struggled in elementary school too. Yeah, I struggled with body image. I also struggled with making friends. I also struggled to fit in. I also was the new kid in school. I also struggled in homework. I also. And so I get it, but I'd really like to hear it from your side. See if I can help you. This is when our kids get to learn from our example, right? Curiosity isn't just about asking the right questions and showing up in the non-judgmental way over and over. The more we model curiosity, our kids are absorbing how to approach the world around them with an open mind. And I think right now in today's society, having an open mind is so important because we tend to jump to conclusions about everybody. I mean, you just look at a post of mine on Instagram and the jumping to conclusions is intense. So when we can teach and model our children to approach situations open-minded, open heart, with an open heart, then we are really priming the neural pathways for that curious connection for our children. And I don't know about you, but I don't want my children to grow up feeling constantly judged, constantly shamed, because if that's the case, they are going to outwardly judge and shame the next person. So instead of saying like, that's not a big deal. Oh my gosh, stop crying. What are you making such a big deal about? Like, let's say I see you're really upset. What's going on? How can I help you? I'm curious as to what's happening right now. This seems really hard. The more we can do this, the more we set the foundation for respect. The more we invite our children into actively participating in this relationship. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. We're teaching them that their opinions, their thoughts, their feelings, they as people matter, right? I saw the NFL's posting these commercials where the NFL player says to little kids, I am, and they repeat, I am, and they say somebody, and the kids go, somebody, right? Our kids want to know that they are somebody. They're unique individuals and they're seen. They want to know that they are somebody. So parents who are asking questions, parents who are listening actively, parents who are investing and showing genuine interest in their child's inner worlds, they are signaling to their children, this is what respect looks like. This is what non-judgmental curiosity looks like. This approach is a fast track to respect, and a respect that is genuine, a respect that is earned, not demanded from, because that's fleeting. And I think we all know that. And as we do this, as we continue to model curiosity, as we continue to develop that mutual respect, we are teaching our children emotional intelligence. We are teaching them how to show respect for teachers, professors, for colleagues in relationship, right? We are teaching them that everybody has an equal seat at the table. And this leads to a tremendous amount of trust, tremendous amount of security and safety, of inner wisdom. We're teaching our children how to be smarter than us, essentially. And we're not tangling up all these moments with shame and programming of how you're supposed to be, right? We're basically teaching them how to minimize conflict and how to have positive interactions. Curiosity is this overlooked step, in my opinion, that has such a profound effect for not only our child's inner wisdom, not only our child's sense of safety, but for respect. I'm curious what your thoughts are. Does this align with what you've been experiencing? Is this something that you wish you would have had growing up as, in your household? Did your parents actively show curiosity? And is it tricky? Is it hard for you to put some of that stuff aside that really still is that inner, gunk that's still stuck in there? Is that hard to put aside to show up with curiosity for your own kids? I'm curious. I would love to know. And I look forward to continuing this conversation. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Responsible Parenting Podcast. If you like what you heard, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. If you know someone who would benefit from this podcast, I'd be honored if you'd share this episode with them. Until next time, know that you are enough, you are capable, you've made it through all of your hardest days, and we will keep growing on this parenting journey together. This podcast was produced by Kim Kelty and myself, Becky Jennings, and edited by the Kelty Method, Branding and Podcasting.